everyone. Welcome to another featured teacher session brought to you by the American TESOL Institute. My name is Jason Levine, better known as Fluent CMC. I have the honor and privilege of being here once a month to highlight a teacher in English language teaching somewhere in the world who's done wonderful stuff for his or her colleagues, who's built a following of students based on the work they've done. And I'm really excited to be here today to introduce to you, if you don't already know him, or to build on your relationship with this man, Samuel Williams, who, if you don't know what he's up to, I would head over to Instagram. And that's why it's interesting, the topic we have today, because what he's done directly through social media and Instagram in particular, but he can tell you more, is to connect with learners all around the world in a way that I think many of us English language teachers have not. So if you are looking for guidance, advice, tips on how to connect better using videos, especially on the side of storytelling, hooking students in, getting them involved, building a relationship through the videos you make. It's great you're here with us because this guy has a lot he can tell you and a lot he can help you with. So Sam, really glad to have you here. Thank you for being our featured teacher for September 2021. Welcome.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you very much for having me. Hello, everybody. As well. It's a pleasure to speak to you all around the world, which is amazing.
If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself a bit, how did you get into English language teaching? Was it, a direct route, or was it, sort of from here or from there? And then how does your history as a teacher, or how has it led you to do what you're doing now?
Okay, so first of all, everyone, my name is Sam, and I'm an English teacher from England, from Stratford-upon-Avon, which I'm sure many of you know is a little city famous for a very famous English playwright called William Shakespeare. So that's where I'm from. And when I was growing up, I liked English, but I didn't always dream to be an English teacher. I actually studied geography at university, which has inspired some of my recent work I've been doing with English teaching as well, which you might be interested in, which I'm going to show you a little bit later. But I got into English teaching mainly because I wanted to travel after I finished studying. And then I realized that I loved languages, I loved learning languages, and I loved teaching languages as well. I loved being in the classroom, something that, I have a real passion for. So I've always continued doing that ever since. And I've taught English in many places. So I've taught English in Spain, in Cadiz in the south, and in Madrid. Perhaps some of you are Spanish maybe. Then I went to Portugal, taught English in Lisbon, and I've been teaching English actually in Italy, in Trieste, where I'm living now. So I'm young. I'm sure you're looking at me and going, why am I listening to this baby? I'm very baby-faced. I'm 29 years old. But yeah, I am quite young, I do realize. But I've got quite a bit of teaching experience for my age. I think I've been teaching for 7 years, and I've done classes in academies. I've done classes in schools, in primary and in secondary. I've done business classes, exam classes, a bit of everything. And then I got onto what I'm doing now, which I started making content to use in my own classes, to show my students, and also to connect with English learners all over the world. And then as a side consequence of that, I realized that also loads of teachers were using my content, which was really cool. So that's also something we can talk about, because really I didn't expect it. I was thinking, no, it's just for students, but teachers are always messaging me telling me, Sam, I use this in my class. Oh, it's really good. They liked it, which is which is awesome because
I think that that's huge, because that happened to me as well. And I think what I've learned from that, meeting other teachers like you who set out to connect to learners, and then what you were doing, teachers were like, wait a second, either I want to use that, or you inspire me to do something similar, and that's wonderful. It's amazing. And so I think people who set out to, I'm going to train teachers, I'm going to explain this or explain that, that's a bit more problematic than
yeah.
but it's, I just want to say one thing, because I can't help it. I started teaching when I was 29 years old, and I've been teaching for 22 years. So that means that when you're my age, you're going to say you've been teaching for 29 years. So and when it was pretty early in my career as a teacher, that I was kind of saying what you were saying, and don't be too modest about it. I mean, it's good to be modest, but if you have, no, not if one has, but in your case, you definitely have, kind of hit whether it's timing or just sort of a sweet spot of how to connect to learners, and it inspires teachers, that's something to really celebrate. It's not about your age, it's about more your ideas and where they're going. And before we continue, somebody's asking in the chat about your Instagram, and speaking of modesty, when you sent me information about you, you didn't give me a link to that. You didn't mention the name of your Instagram. It is not Samuel Williams at Instagram. So if you could tell us, because I think people are curious.
Yes. So my Instagram page is called PAPI English. And I always get a lot of questions. Why did you decide to call your Instagram PAPI English?
I'm putting it in the chat. Tell us about that.
From Latin Americans or Spanish-speaking countries, they always say, why PAPI, PAPI? So PAPI English stands for Practice and Perfection in English. So yeah, I've been on Instagram for about 4 years, making short videos, like videos under a minute, which touch on grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, British pronunciation, obviously, expressions, idioms, and that kind of thing. Yeah, and I had some success. Like I got quite a few followers, which is nice, and it seems to help people learn. And the thing is, there are so many like amazing English teachers. That's why I want to tell you. I don't want to just talk about me. If you want to use accounts on Instagram to show your students, there are like English teachers from all over the world, which you can show your students. Which I think is such a positive thing, because you can show your students English speakers from all different backgrounds, races, cultures, accents, different accents as well, which I think is something we really need to push in English language learning.
It is, and I without, maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but I think maybe we're reaching a point where it's not about pushing; it's more about like that's what's starting to happen. It's just like, and that would be great, because it is different. My era of YouTube videos and sort of people having this kind of like, this is my corner, my area, and now that's kind of, with shorter videos on Instagram, what really grabs the attention of somebody quickly, even though people can sort of feel like, oh, well, that's, it's so short and it's just this cookie, exactly, but that should be the way it is with language. I think, like, if it's a long, chalk and talk explanation, right, it's it's less likely that the student's going to really acquire that collocation, that sentence, the meaning, and really use it. So it's not just about like it's fun, it's quick, it's, I think that's, tell me what you think, but I think that's how language acquisition works best, especially when you watch it more than once. You see it in your feed, you repeat it. It's that, relax, repeat, remember thing that I get into. Whereas something that's a longer explanation, it's not as much about acquiring the language, and it's also not something you're likely to watch 10 times. So you're going to be less likely to actually remember the language.
I think as well, because the way that English teachers are teaching on Instagram, it comes across very authentic and natural, and they're using real language in real situations. And this is the difference compared to more traditional videos that you might get attached to course books, In fact, some of us who are making videos on YouTube and Instagram, we get contracts to make videos in our style and the social media style to go in the course books now. I'm working on a project like that because the students engage with it more. It's more real. It's not too scripted. It's not too, bland. It's not boring.
So I wonder, Sam, have you heard of any research on whether, because when you say something's making its way into a course book, I can see somebody really cynical and sort of old fashioned saying like, oh, well, naturally it is because, that's what kids think they want, but that's not what they really need to learn a language. Has there been any research done? Because I can imagine what would happen if there were research done. It's not just that kids think it's cool or it's hip or it's that they actually learn the language better, like what I was just saying earlier. So I wonder, has anything ever happened? And is that why these textbooks might be doing this? Is there anything out there that's saying, hey, look, this is actually more effective?
Yeah, I think it's obvious to the people making these course books because the most thing where the students' attention is online. So they realize the kind of content that they like. So if you can dress that up in an educational way, you've got to be careful with content you find on social media, obviously. You can hit the sweet point where, kids think like, oh, this is cool, or this is natural, this isn't too boring or whatever. So yeah, they're being smart. They're including these in the course books now, the new ones, a lot of bookmakers, and you can also then find so much content online as well. Like Jason, makes his raps and stuff, which is awesome.
but the thing is, like, it's great if you build up this following. I have this following, but I love this idea, and I've been doing stuff in textbooks with my songs recently too, and it's just there's so many advantages to it, obviously, over someone just sort of finding you or me or somebody else. As you said, there's so many teachers out there doing wonderful things. If it's integrated into a course book, it's like, oh, well, there it is in the syllabus where the students need to practice this. So it's like, it's great if someone, I get messages, I'm sure you do too. Oh, wow, I had a quiz on modal verbs and you were doing this thing on modal verbs. But, what if that's, right there for them in the curriculum when they need it? And, teachers who are in the classroom being more open-minded, being more into the idea of bringing people in from different places, different ways, being more facilitators with materials, as opposed to in the past where they might have felt like, okay, I have to be the only person providing input for my students, or worse, I have this dry textbook with these listenings and conversation scripts and things that my students don't want to do. So it's like, I feel like things are going in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. And, we know as English teachers, we're always looking for new materials. The course books are never enough. So, if I can help you find like cool stuff for videos that go with your syllabus, it's even better.
So I have a question for you, but I want to wait to ask it because there's something I really like you to talk about first before I ask that question. And that is how you began in social media and creating these videos, and especially the storytelling part of it, because I think that's enormously important. And we actually, in fact, I was just gonna say, we had a featured teacher recently who's built a career on storytelling, but it was our last featured teacher, Story Paul, who was here with us. He's in Argentina, and he was our featured teacher last month. And he has done just phenomenal things with using storytelling in all kinds of young kids, business people. So it's great that you're here, somebody who also values that. So could you tell us just your journey a little bit into, how you started making videos and thinking about the type of videos to make and your audience and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. So I started making videos 4 years ago when I was living in Madrid. And at first, I did it because I wanted to show my students something cool and just to a bit of a career development move. I wanted to, you know, put myself out there, put my face out there, see what comes of it. And my idea at first, still my idea, especially on Instagram, is to teach English in real life situations. So out and about, even on the street, teaching English using real examples, real phrases, real expressions. So I started doing that. And then I got quite into teaching through storytelling, because I don't know if you agree with me, I'm sure you do, but one of the best ways to learn is through stories. And also it's one of the most entertaining ways to learn. And if you want to get into video creation, all of the content creators on YouTube, not all of them, but a lot of them are using stories to teach something. So that's when I started collaborating with a book company called Black Cat CDEB. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
Can you put the link in? Because that's, I know we're going to talk about that tonight a bit.
So I'll put the link in the chat, just a second.
Yeah, sure. Take
their website. Because we can talk a lot about that, because they make graded readers. I think in America you call them leveled readers. So they're the books for learning English that I know, for example, in Italy, a lot of teachers use them in their classrooms, the Black Cat ones, but you might use different companies as well. And they take the story, the classics, but also original titles as well. So, you know, I've just done a video yesterday with Jane Eyre. So what I do with them is I make videos around the book, but it's not a video to promote the book. It's an extra resource to the book. So you can find it on social media, you can find it on YouTube, Instagram, wherever. But the idea is you can show your students the video to introduce the book or to introduce an activity to the book. So a lot of the videos, they teach you something in the video, and then that leads into an activity, which is really nice. And, you know, it's a really nice way of teaching through stories as well.
It's great.
Maybe I can.
Yeah, I'm actually going to just bring a few books over here because I have some with me.
Okay. I have some as well. I have all of them, I think.
The advantage of, you know, we're going to edit this later, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So this is one I actually did something with Sam on, New Atlantis. So yeah, graded readers or leveled readers, right? So I'm sure most teachers, who just to make sure everybody understands the kind of thing we're talking about here. So is that something that inspired you once you started working with them, or you already had this idea of bringing storytelling to videos you make in social media?
I think they inspired me a little bit. This was quite early on in the stage. Now, like, I focus a lot around my content for English learning around storytelling because of them. But I started working with them at quite an early stage of making the content. But I do think it's a very effective way of learning through the stories, through the videos with the stories. And also, like, the feedback we've got from teachers is really positive with the videos and with the stories. Like, it works well all together to make engaging lessons. At the moment, actually, if you go onto the Black Cat website, the link I gave you, there are like 3 titles you can get for free. So they're free to read. They're the ebook version. So you can check out that. And also I can show you on the website where you can find all of the videos I made as well.
You're welcome to share your screen if you want to talk about that for just a moment.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay.
I'm sure people will be happy to know where they can get free stuff.
Yeah. So the Black Cat website, you can get all. It's called Catchy English, Black Cat Catchy English, this kind of thing, and you can get all of the videos here. So these are all little English lessons around storytelling. They're not adverts of the book. There are things that teach you and give you ideas for lessons.
Right.
You can use them with the book, or you could even use them without the book as well. And, you know, we've made so many videos. You can see, like, so many classic titles: Gobbler's Travels, The Secret Garden, 1001 Nights. You know, I also do teacher training. We're not going to go into it so much in this webinar. This is more just of an introduction to my work, but I do teacher training on how to use the videos and the books together. So if you follow what we're doing with what I'm doing with my work, you can also attend one of those webinars in the future as well, if you're really interested in using graded readers and videos in your classroom to make engaging lessons.
Cool. Well, I can't wait any longer. I want to ask you sort of the big question, which is when we were talking earlier about YouTube, and in the past, or I was, about sort of the chalk and talk, explaining grammar, something long. It might have, you know, some real life examples in it, but it certainly wasn't, the focus wasn't as much on, you know, the short video with a real life example, somebody out and about, a little bit of that. But anyway, the question I want to ask you is it more difficult to make videos like what you're doing now than it was before? Or do you think what was done in the past was more difficult? I'm sort of asking from the point of view of a, you know, a teacher who's never made video, who might feel like, oh my God, I'm just, you know, intimidated by video, and, you know, how could I ever get into this? And I'm asking this question because I feel like some people would say the way it used to be was maybe an easier way to get in, and now it's harder. And maybe somebody else would say, no, it's easier now. So what do you think about that? I mean, not just about easy, but just in terms of, you know, developing your technique, your style, being able to manage it.
As a video maker?
Yeah, as a teacher, like, it's, you know, like what you said is exactly how I got into it. I think a lot of great teachers out there could get into it, which is just for their students, you know, something to kind of engage them. Not like they're going to go out. I mean, you can go out and be like, I'm going to be an Instagram English teacher superstar. But like, I definitely feel like almost every teacher I've met whose work I respect, it tends to be that they're doing it for their teachers, students, and then other people get into it, right? So that if I were a teacher listening to this, I'd be like, that's great. You know, I've got a group of students, right? I know what they like. I could sort of put a video out there, and if other people liked it, you know. So I guess what I'm asking about, that style, like the short video, the kind of natural video, what is easier or more difficult about that compared to, like, you know, filming yourself explaining like the present perfect continuous?
Okay, well, I don't think it's more difficult. You have to be a little bit more spontaneous and natural rather than being, you're not being the teacher. Well, what I'm doing is I'm not being the teacher in the classroom in front of the whiteboard. There is that on YouTube, you can find it, and that content is great. For me, I think it's more natural doing the thing out and about, and a bit more, and it's just more fun for me. It's more fun. It's more natural, and I just enjoy it more. I do longer videos like that now as well. I'll tell you about it in a little bit, but I do like YouTube videos, 7, 8 minutes out and about, called like a vlog.
Okay.
But because I think it's great learning in the classroom, the grammar and everything. But when I think of how I learned a language, and also how my students are learning English or other languages, it's more natural, more fun, and often much better to learn it in a natural way. The natural way is just to experience the language. No, you don't.
Yeah.
When I was a baby, I didn't have English grammar lessons saying the verb to be and anything like that. You just learned it because you were absorbed by it. So I think that the videos that, you know, you're making music videos. We learn a lot just from listening to music. Or I'm making videos showing you places, teaching you. I make videos teaching you about cities, but I'm also teaching you English at the same time. That's it. If you can find the interests of your students, that way they can learn in a natural way without so much grammar. Like, I understand when you're older, you do need grammar lessons and that kind of thing. When I learned language, I didn't do grammar lessons. But we're a little bit too focused still in the traditional teaching techniques, I think, at the moment. I think like a lot of content.
Yeah, I think that it's, you know, it's interesting because I remember defending some of those chalk and talk, you know, YouTube teachers, because what I would say is, look, I know a lot of students who don't have teachers in a classroom doing that. So they're going to YouTube, you know, because they don't have an English teacher with a whiteboard who's explaining things that way, you know?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people's sort of knee-jerk reaction was, wait a second, you know, like we're already doing that in the classroom. Let's make videos that are more spontaneous, right? So I appreciate what you're saying. Like, it's not that those videos are wrong or bad. It's just, what do your students need, right? So if you are a teacher who is in a classroom and you have students in real time and you can go up to Ward and explain something, what you can't do, or what won't work, is the type of video you're making, right? And I think that's the point. It's like both. And that's why what you're saying, I'm not surprised textbooks want to bring in videos like yours, because it's not the same thing that a teacher would be able to do in a classroom, right? It's more seeing how something is used, maybe kind of hooking them into a story with it, right? That, to me, that type of video has much more value when you have the chance to also have a teacher who can explain things and so on and so forth. So, but I guess the reason I was asking you about making these videos is, you know, you're right. You have to be more spontaneous. You have to relax, you know, this sort of thing. But it's, you know, you can use your phone. You can do it for a short time. You can just give an example of something. And again, for your students. And if your students like you and appreciate you, wow, you're explaining something in the classroom, but here are these 10 little videos you made that, you know, are giving examples in context that you can watch again and again. And it's back to that idea of, once you can see it again and again, you're going to have, you know, more chance of remembering it and using it. And that is so important.
Yeah, I think it's so cool to show your students you using the language in context. Like, you can make a little video whilst you're at the supermarket. That's what I started doing and sharing.
That's what I want. I want you to tell us examples. So go right to that. That's how you started?
Yeah, like I was going to the supermarket. I went to the pharmacy once, to the clothes shop, you know, and I was just making it for my students. Like, you know, I was getting like a few other followers on Instagram. The next thing I knew, like clothes company Calcedonia were asking me to come into their shop and
that's so cool. That's so cool. That's so cool. And, you know, and I feel like if you had said, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make this video as an influencer and trying to get these clothes company, it never would have worked, right? So they recognized that you were doing something that was sincere, and, you know, hey, if your students benefit from it, and they did, and they do, and then other people can see it, you know, more people can see it because somebody sponsors you, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
At the moment, I'm working, it's for a course book, so the videos aren't out at the moment, but I'm working on this project teaching phrasal verbs. So there are 10 videos, and each video does a phrasal verb. So, for example, phrasal verbs with go. So a video will be 5 phrasal verbs with go, which are taught in the course book. So I'm making this video where I'm literally just walking around the city, and I've created this weird story in my head where at different points, I use the phrasal verb in the narrative. So it's also on the same kind of thing of storytelling. So, you know, I'm walking down the city, and I don't know, I go on.
You're going in, you're going out, you're going around, you're
all
going
of this kind of stuff. Crazy, but the thing is, it shows the students the language being used in context. Wonderful. Which is difficult to do in the classroom. Like, you're giving them real examples, and it's memorable. When it's a story, it's very easy to remember. No?
Yeah, I wouldn't even just say it's difficult to remember in the classroom. It doesn't even make sense to try to. I mean, in the past, we had no choice, right? I mean, the whole reality, and you have these 4 walls. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, hey, we're at a point where, what's the point of trying to do that? Bring in media for that. That's it, right? I mean, it shouldn't, to me, that doesn't make it. I mean, okay, so if you happen to be a teacher that can be super, you know, creative and resourceful and do something in real time in front of the students. But the other thing is, how much time do we have? Even if you know, like, most teachers have 3 hours with their students, but outside of class, they can watch videos, they can see short videos many times, they can do songs again and again, right? I mean, this is so different from when I was a French student in middle school, where it was go home and listen to the, you know, absolutely ridiculous conversations in the textbook, you know, and repeat them, which you never would naturally want to do. And so now suddenly, not suddenly, but it feels sort of suddenly to someone my age, we have like, wow, all these opportunities to get exposure to the language, as long as teachers are open to it, motivating students, getting them hooked on it. That's what it's all about.
And I think on that note, also on social media, it's so great if you can tell your students to go home and for homework, follow this Instagrammer who's making English videos. It's because, Instagram and TikTok, I'm also on TikTok making videos. I don't know if you know, teaching English.
Yeah.
They have a bad rep. They have a bad reputation. Like people will say, the kids are getting a lot of rubbish on those social medias. They're not seeing good things. It's bad influence on them. So if you can, they're going to be on the social media anyway. So if you can show them some good role models, some good things to see on it, next time they're not going to watch something that's going to make them feel bad about themselves. They're going to watch something that's actually good for them, and they're going to learn something, which is pretty cool if you start introducing your students to Instagram accounts, for example, or TikTok.
Absolutely, but it's tricky because I think many of teachers out there, and we're going to open this up to questions in a few minutes and comments for sure. But what you said, it's true. Like if you can say, okay, for homework follows, but again, if you say for homework, it kind of might feel like, wait, my teacher thinks this is cool, like it's an assignment. I mean, I have teachers who have, this would be great research, right? Who have like a blog where they put content of mine, people like you, other people, right? And why aren't my students going there? Well, it's because you're telling them to go there, right? Doesn't matter how cool you are, it still feels like an assignment, as opposed to they kind of fall into it. Their friend was over and they're like watching some video. Who's that? Oh, that's, normally, right? That's how you get into it. It's more intrinsic motivation from how cool it is, not like, oh, I should learn English or I should do that, right? So the teacher training I do now, it's almost all this, because we have all this great stuff out there. So it's not about you need to make your lessons better. It's more like, how can you hook your students on English outside of class? Because if you do, then they'll come to class and, even a mediocre lesson they'll get into, because they'll have enough English to feel it and get into it, so that's so important, right? And that fine line between an assignment and something that they just want to go and do. So I think that's, what do you feel about that? I mean, do you think most of the people,
it's a really tricky one, isn't it?
Follow you and follow people like you are doing it because they were sort of instructed to or led to, or they kind of fell into it, or you're not sure?
I think it's a bit of both. I think some of them, like definitely their teachers were like, oh, you should follow, and maybe they like it, maybe they don't, maybe they feel pushed into it so they don't want to watch it. I think a lot of the students, especially when they get a bit older, they're going to start realizing there's a big wide world and that English is important, and they just get into it anyway. They get into the English teaching Instagram videos and that kind of thing. But it is a tricky one to get students. So you've got to help your students find things that they're interested in English language. I think that's the best thing. So if your students are interested in cars, you don't want to show them what they should be watching, but you want to kind of push them into, oh, have you watched Top Gear? Something like that. And, they start watching Top Gear and it's in English. And
right.
So that's what, it doesn't always have to be specific content for English learners. Like you can watch Top Gear even if your level of English is.
So I think it's often not specific content for English learners. I mean, my most famous example from my experience that I actually use this as calling, the annoying orange approach. Where one day at the end of class, here I am thinking all these ways to try to get my students to do English out of class, and trying to tell them, watch this and do this. And then the one time I said, I wasn't thinking about it this way. I said, my son showed me, it was the end of class, my son showed me this really funny video, this annoying orange. I don't know if you know what annoying orange is. So it's like a talking orange that's just a sarcastic and just basically a real jerk. So yeah, you can look him up. So this was like in the like 2000, 5, 6, 7, something like that, right? So this is a while ago. but I was like, I said, hey, it was really funny, and it was just a couple minutes left of class. We were already doing something on YouTube, something I wanted them to watch, which would be good for their English or something, probably, right? So I put this up there, and they were just mesmerized. Like, I think partly because it was so funny and so cool and comprehensible to them, like the English wasn't too hard, but also because I had said, hey, just maybe check this out, as opposed to, this is something that could really be good for phrasal verbs, and I just showed them that. And once I saw that they were so into it that way, luckily it clicked at that point. Like nothing had clicked before, but it clicked. And when we stopped it, time to go. They're like, what is that? I was like, I don't know. I have to figure out what my son showed me that. I don't know. Annoying orange. And they're like, well, what is that? I was like, well, if I find it, I'll let you know, And then they're emailing me, give me the link for that. Give me the link for annoying orange. I was like, okay, let me, my son said he can, And then after that point, I was like, this is it, man. I'm going to be this covert behind this. And maybe you want to check this. I don't know. This could be funny.
We should start using reverse psychology.
It's very basic reverse psychology.
You shouldn't watch this. You won't like it. No.
Well, it wouldn't work.
I'll be all over it. I'll be Googling it.
But it's funny, like, because I was a psychology major in school, but like, I think what's funny is like, these are, 19, 20-year-old students. You wouldn't expect, simple reverse psychology to work. I think maybe it worked because it's in a second language context. Like if it was in a first language, they'd recognize it as reverse psychology, but they're so stressed out, feeling like they're being told what to do, that a little bit of reverse psychology was just what it took.
To get honest, like, if you're making content yourself as a teacher, I think the students are just so interested to spy on you. Like they feel like they're spying into your life by watching it. So they watch it anyway, and they bring it up in classes and like, oh, I saw this video, you were talking about this. Like it's like an insight for them into your world.
I'm really glad you said that, because I have that same experience, and that brings us back to this idea of teachers creating content as opposed to trying to find the annoying orange or this that could be this or that work. It's absolutely true. And if you feel like, well, it's interfering in your personal life or something like that, you can really separate it. These days, you can really separate it. You can also just have it for your students. It doesn't have to be you're putting it out there for the world. You can just make these things for your students, and that really worked for me once I started doing that, where they were just kind of curious, like, what's he going to do next, and what's he wearing, and whatever. If it's intrinsic motivation, as long as it's not like I have to learn English. It's like, oh, I want to see what happened next in the story, or I want to see my teacher being silly. Those are things that are not I have to learn English, and that's intrinsic motivation, and that's the base of the game. Sam, tell us what you mentioned, that you've got some things coming out that you haven't with a textbook. Is there anything else that you're doing or that you're hoping to do like in the next year or two?
There's always something. Let me maybe share something.
Yeah, do that. I see a question from Katerina. We'll get a couple questions going while you show us your work.
So, for example, like I'm on Instagram, like all the videos that you find on my YouTube are also on Instagram, but I'm going to show you YouTube. So at the moment, I'm working on a project. This is kind of a life project of mine. It's going to take me so many years to get it to the stage that I want it to be. But I'm making all of these lessons, which are in different cities around the world, which is a really difficult project because it involves a lot of traveling, and also the videos take a lot of time. So basically what I'm doing is I'm teaching students about different places, cultures, cities, other languages as well. But then spontaneously, I'm teaching them English. So like if a word or an expression comes up, I teach it. So the videos are like out and about. Yeah. So at the moment, I really want to do it for where I have followers, like a lot of followers from. I have followers all over the world, which is great, but I have a lot like in Italy, because I'm based in Italy, but also in South America. So I definitely want to make videos in South America because my students love it when I make videos in their cities and stuff, and I celebrate their culture. Yeah, cool. It's not all about British English and Go Britannia or anything like that. Not at all. I want to celebrate other cultures. So this is a big project. So at the moment, I'll be making videos in Italy. There's one here in Slovenia. I've just come back from London where I recorded a video. So I'm trying to do some in England as well, because I know a lot of students are interested in learning more about the culture.
Sure,
and learning,
especially from somebody who's from there. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but I'm going to do Turkey soon, and because I've got a lot of followers there, so I'd love to be able to teach them English lessons in their cities, and then hopefully South America not far down the line. And then the idea is that I also want to create worksheets with these videos, so teachers can use it in the lesson. I told you at the beginning of the talk that I'm a geography student. I study geography, so this is my it's a passion project, kind of combining all of my interests of traveling, languages,
wonderful,
etc. So this is something like, if you're interested in my work, definitely give the videos a watch and maybe show them to your students. It's good to show your students.
Well, yeah, and learning English through content and different subjects, and CLIL. I mean, Italy's huge with that. And that's just going to grow and grow. So, it's really lucky to be someone like you who, would love to bring English to a subject like geography, because that's what teachers are looking for. They're looking for, English connected to subjects, because, that's becoming more and more important. We have a question here from,
awesome.
From Katerina, a great question. Do you use your videos in class? And if yes, how?
Yes, I do use them in class. They're designed, I try and think of my videos for the classroom, really. It's not just for getting followers or anything like that. It's for using in the classroom. How do I do it? I use the videos usually to introduce an activity. So what I do, for example, with the Black Cat videos, is I'm presenting some language, and at the end, they have to make a role play or something like that, where they have to use the language as well, or they have to make example sentences. Or like I've made some videos for very young learners where it goes into games, like Simon says. So it introduces an activity. That's always the aim. Because I think when students can see, because it's almost like a presentation of the language, and then students can see how it's used, and then they can do it themselves as well. Sometimes the video can be just used for a little treat, so just to break up the lesson, so it's not too booky, not too boring, like to give it another dynamic. I think the videos can be very useful for that. I do some webinars where I go into some specific examples with videos and lesson activities. But again, it's always a thing of collaboration. So teachers need to share their ideas, like, I did this activity with this video. I did this activity with this video. And in the end, like with the longer videos, that's why I was talking about worksheets that you can use with the videos.
And Audrey commented here that worksheets are a great idea. So
they are a great idea. I know, like Jason, for example, you do worksheets with some of your songs and stuff, don't you, Jason? It's something that I need to start making for my videos, especially for the longer videos, I think. And then at the end of the worksheet, also to have an activity as well. Not for me, for using my classroom, because obviously I have the idea in my head already, but because I want to share with other teachers. So that's something that I'll be looking to do.
Great. And you can also get teachers' ideas for worksheets, because often the best ideas come from someone who was inspired by the videos and is using them, and they come up with some way. You're like, wow, if you never thought about that.
A great idea of what to do in the class, tell me, because I would love to know as well.
I had the same question, Katerina. Where are your webinars, Sam? She is asking. The webinars you referred to.
So the webinars,
are they private or are they?
No. At the moment, I have one booked for next year for TESOL Spain. So usually, like I get booked, so it's not private. So if you want to keep up to date with when I do webinars, make sure you follow me on Instagram. Like I will let you know my stories and stuff like that. It depends when the webinars come. At the moment, the webinars are online like this. So, I get requested, or sometimes I ask to do a webinar. So it's a bit random. It's not always in the same place.
But do you have, are there any recordings somewhere, either on a website or YouTube, or they're not organized like that at the moment?
I don't think we don't. So with the Black Cat webinars, we recorded them. They're not on the website yet,
Okay.
but if you follow, I will let you know when they're on the website, because they will be going onto the website.
Do you feel, because I know some teachers wonder about this, like people who are thinking about getting into making videos, like is it easier or more difficult to balance like classroom teaching and social media once you get really into social media? Because I know teachers who be like, it's already kind of hard for me to like do what I'm doing in the classroom and also try to, create this other content. But I can also see, and I've had the experience where it actually can make things better because there's, more interaction with my students and they're learning more easily. And like you just said, you can bring things into the classroom and use them in the classroom. So what's your experience with that?
Yeah, you have to find a balance. Obviously, if you want to make a lot of content, you have to probably think about doing less teaching hours, which depends on you. If you can do it financially, if you get paid for the content, obviously that makes it more possible. But then you might be missing teaching. Like we're teachers, we love the classroom dynamic and we love being in the classroom. So,
and most teachers probably wouldn't be paid for content at first. And I just want to hit on something you just said. How important is it to make a lot of content? I mean, it is, isn't it? In the sense of, getting followers and things like that. But if a teacher is just sort of starting to get into it and not as concerned with that, it wouldn't matter as much, right?
It depends on your aim. It really depends on your aim. If you want to make it part of your career, your income, then you have to put a lot of work into it. Like it's part of my career now, it's part of my work. Like I still do the teaching as well. But so if you're just making it for your students, you don't need to put so much time. You just need to pick up your phone, record, and put on social media. You don't need to edit it. You don't need to do anything like that.
And isn't that the best way to experiment and figure out what you like, and without the pressure of feeling like, oh, I've got to do it this way, or I've got to reach this many people? I mean,
exactly. You might just be cooking in your house and you want to show something that you're cooking and explain the vocabulary, like spatula. This is a spatula. Do the pronunciation.
Every person that I bring here has the same story of, I wasn't doing this initially to try to, get all these followers. I was trying to help my students and it caught on. Yeah. So we talked about that earlier, but can't emphasize how important that is. That means anyone. If you got an idea, you do it. If you think you can help them with a short little video of you on the street or talking to a friend, and it will help them. So do it. To do it.
Absolutely. I recommend it. Cool. It's good fun as well.
It is. And you can meet other cool teachers once you start doing it too, because then you'll have teachers, like Sam said, he didn't think about that maybe at first, teachers following him, but that's what happened to me too. I wasn't my aim, but when teachers started to say, hey, I'm using your video in the classroom and I got this activity I'm doing with it, and I showed these other teachers, and that is just amazing, professional development for yourself, because then all of a sudden you're connected with teachers who are giving you feedback and you're checking out what they're doing, and that's just you can't put a price on that. Do you post your worksheets on your Instagram or YouTube? Okay, so the worksheets as opposed to the videos.
So at the moment I haven't done worksheets, so I told you, like, I'm making those videos and I'm going to make worksheets, but I haven't got them yet. Be patient. I'm a very busy teacher as well.
Yeah.
I will get there. When I make them, I will probably have them on a website on my web. I don't have a website at the moment, but I would open a website and put it on. I don't think Instagram is a great place for worksheets. YouTube, there would be the link to the website where you can find the worksheets.
And I hope you caught what he just said. He doesn't have a website yet. So I know also teachers who fret about that. Definitely things have changed in this. So, I mean, there was a period where it was kind of like, wait a second, I'm using social media, but I can't live there. That's them. I need this website. That's changing a little bit again. So I think if you're feeling it sort of intimidated, like I can't get into it because I don't have a website. Sam just said he's that website. So you could do something again where you have a private channel on Instagram, only your students see it. You're sort of getting that going, finding out how you feel about making videos, not even thinking about email lists, websites, any of that stuff that can stress us all out as teachers, you know.
Just make some videos. I've been doing it for 4 years. I use my phone. I don't even have a camera.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. And the next step, we're all going to be in the Metaverse together. We need to, as avatars. No, we need to stop here. Thanks so much to people who came live. All of you who are watching this video asynchronously around the world. Thank you so much. Sam, thank you so much. PAPI English. I didn't know the acronym was, so the E is the I. I'm saying E. The I is for English. It's for English with an I.
Practice and perfection in English.
I'm a little slow. I get it. The preposition gets its own piece of the acronym. Of
course. Prepositions are important.
I love it. So PAPI English, check it out. And Black Cat, check it out. And wow, such a pleasure to have you here. The things you're talking about during this session are so important to English language teachers around the world.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for listening to me, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
It was great. Everybody have a great weekend. Take it easy. And we'll see you next time on Featured Teachers. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.